What's up, guys? Welcome to an episode of Gage's Garage. I'm here with a 2005 Ford Explorer, N-Line 4. It's not the hybrid version. It really surprised me that they made hybrid versions of cars back in 2005. Currently got the oil draining. Your socket size is going to be a 15 millimeter, and your oil pan is going to be right here. It's this big metal pan. You're going to want to make sure that you got an oil catch pan to go right underneath it. This thing should hold about 4.5 quarts. And your oil filter will be located right next to your oil pan. Luckily, it's in a very easily accessible place if you drive a 2005 Ford Escape. So a couple of things about oil changes that people really don't get right is they never use, they don't really care about what oil and what oil filter goes on their car. This matters probably way more than you could ever think. If you look at this guy named Project Farm on YouTube, he makes fantastic videos where he has tested multiple motor oil brands, and some are cheaper and some are more expensive. Price isn't usually the best gauge of how good your motor oil is. Usually it's, you just gotta find the right brand. You know, the cheaper ones ain't that good, and the more expensive ones ain't that good either. So what motor oil am I using, and what motor oil do I trust? I trust Mobil 1 extended performance, and if your vehicle is high mileage. This motor oil has been shown to have very good detergents in the high mileage version, low amounts of wear metals after being used in an engine, and very low wear scars on bearing tests. If you don't know what a bearing test is, like I said, go look at Project Farm. On his YouTube videos, he does all kinds of stuff with, from ratchets to wrenches to motor oil to fuel additives. I mean, guys just got a crazy amount of stuff that he just tests. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the most bang for your buck, right? So what am I charging this guy? I'm charging this guy $80 for this whole thing. I think one time I heard at, I don't go to those places, but at Valvoline or Jiffy Lube or any of those places, they don't do quality oil changes, and they don't care about what oil they use. I mean, they'll choose the bottom shelf stuff that is the cheapest, because all they care about is profit. And that's unfortunate. A lot of y'all should do your oil changes yourself. Or if you don't have the stuff and you don't have the money to invest in the tools to do an oil change yourself, because that can be quite an investment, I would call someone else. I wouldn't go to one of those 5-minute oil change places. If you want to, you can call me up. I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and yeah, I mean, this is how I do an oil change. So, like you saw, get the drain plug out. Wait for the oil to reach a slow drip, not like this. And this is still a very continuous stream. You want to wait for it to be a pretty slow drip. And once that's like that, then we'll put our drain plug back on, and we'll get to work on our oil filter. Also, before before you remove your oil drain plug, you're going to want to remove your oil cap. That way air can enter the system and push more oil out. It's also ideal to do an oil change while it's hot. Now the next step is very often overlooked, and that's because it's time consuming and some people just deem it as unnecessary. However, it's really not. The next step is to use a torque wrench, whether it be click, split beam, or digital. Look up your your oil drain plug torque spec, and figure what that is, and then you torque your drain plug down to that spec. You don't do it any more and you don't do it any less. The reason why this is so important is because oil drain plugs actually tighten down the more that you use it, or the more that your car runs. So by torquing down your oil drain plug, you are making sure that it is easier for the next person to come along and remove your oil filter or your oil drain plug. People at Jiffy Lube, people at these 5-minute oil change places, they don't do this step. The reason why they don't do this step is because it takes too long, and they would rather use an impact wrench instead, and they usually tighten it to about 60, 80, 100 even foot-pounds. While the torque spec for this Ford Explorer is actually only 20 foot-pounds. And I'm going to show you guys how little that really is. Impact wrenches have done so much damage to oil changes over the years that people just think it's normal to use them, but it's not. And it's not healthy for the car either. Now, to calibrate a click type torque wrench, you need to tighten it all the way up to its max torque setting from the lowest torque setting. You should be storing your click type torque wrench at the lowest amount of tightness that it can be. All right, all the way down. Twist it all the way down, past the numbers even. If you're not doing that, then you risk the torque wrench reading an inaccuracy because the spring inside of the torque wrench has been tightened for too long and it's lost its appropriate tension. And then after you tighten it all the way up, you'll tighten it all the way back down again. And then you'll tighten it all the way up to whatever your desired torque is. I'm gonna torque this to 30 because it's an older vehicle and 10 extra foot-pounds won't hurt. I know what I just said, but I'm talking about 50 or 100 extra foot-pounds can seriously damage the threads of the oil pan and the oil drain bolt, and damage the threads of any bolt that you over torque. If you haven't learned that lesson the hard way, then you haven't been a mechanic for long enough. I want to make sure it's tightening, of course. All right. Now I'm going to show you guys just how little this really needs to be tightened down. It's not much, guys. You guys going on and at these 5-minute oil change places, I hope you're watching, because you guys are the bane of my existence. You want to make sure you're holding it from the handle as well. And there we go. That's all it needed to be tightened to. It's clicking. And that's how we know it has reached 30 foot-pounds. Sorry, I don't know if you guys could get the best view of that. There we go. Watch this. It'll click when it's reached the appropriate amount of torque. That's all it took. And all it was hand tight, and you always want to hand tighten your bolts first as well. And then about 4 clicks of a turn. And now we're ready to remove our oil filter. So to remove our oil filter, all we're gonna do is hopefully pray that it's hand tight, which it's not. Now guys, you don't want to be using an oil filter wrench whenever you're installing these oil filters, because they do the same thing that the drain plugs do, and they tighten up over time. Guys, if you use an oil filter wrench on an oil filter after it's hand tight, then you don't need to be a mechanic. You need to learn from someone else before you continue doing what you're doing. Your oil filter, whenever it's hand tight, will not leak oil, guys. It will be fine. And it will tighten up as you use it more often. As you turn on the car and you cycle it and you turn it on and you turn it off and you go another 3,000 or 5,000 miles before your next oil change, the oil filter will be tight enough. You do not need to put it a quarter turn more with an oil filter wrench. Now, if you run into this situation where you have an oil filter that is just stubborn and won't come off, I have a solution for you guys. I will show you this in a second. So what you're gonna grab is some oil filter vice grips. I bought these from O'Reilly's, guys. And these are Harbor Freight, actually. These are very useful. These are way less likely to slip and way more adjustable than those little garbage oil filter band wrenches that you can find at O'Reilly's or AutoZone. They don't do anything, guys, compared to this thing. This thing will loosen and it will grip much better than those things will. It's also very much better than those sockets as well that are also built for oil filters. Now, you are going to dent and damage the oil filter whenever you use these. So if you plan on reusing the oil filter after removing it, these are not ideal, right? But honestly, I don't know why you would do that, because if you're removing the oil filter, then you should be changing it anyways. Now we need to loosen them up a little bit. You just keep on trying it on, trying it off, trying it on. And if it fits, whether it fits or it doesn't fit. Tell you what, my shoulder's getting tired. That's just what happens when you work under a car. So you'll put it around it and then you'll tighten it until you can't tighten it anymore. There you go. We're reaching about that level, and then we will loosen and like a couple rotations, and then we'll grip and we'll turn. Another good way to do this is grip down on the handle and try to close the pliers together while you're loosening or tightening your nut. Yeah, I'm right. Lefty loosey. This fucking wire is in my way. This is why I warn against using this oil filter wrench after it's already hand tight, because it makes it such a fucking struggle for the next person to come along and change the oil, which is probably the most common maintenance procedure that will get done on your vehicle. I also like K&N oil filters because they also sorry guys, my hands were getting greasy. Because they also have a nut on the oil filter to make removal and installation easier. But you shouldn't, like I said, you don't need to. You don't need to lock it on after you've already got it hand tight, guys. This is what happens, man. Fucking difficult. It's real fucking difficult. Getting tired, guys. Call me young all you want. This shit is hard. Here we go. I think there was some movement there. Gonna have to put my head on this wet ass grass so I can save my shoulder. Save my shoulder the pain. Instead I'll get lice. I have no idea what cable this is right here, but it's getting in the way. They fucked this guy's car bad. Ugh. Okay, we should be clamped on there pretty good. Let's turn. Never mind. Never fucking mind. Definitely gonna be a fucking struggle. I'm definitely gonna take a shower tonight. That's for dang sure. There we go. We're getting somewhere. Okay. Come on, keep rotating. Shit. Okay, I think it's hand removable now. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And make sure you put your oil catch pan underneath this thing, because it'll leak oil. Yep, see? Make sure you catch it. Don't just let it fall. It'll make a huge fucking mess. This is why gloves are a good idea, guys. Chemical resistant nylon gloves. These ones are also impact resistant. There we go. Mess free. All right. And after you take your oil filter off, you want to make sure you have that black ring around the oil filter, and you don't see any black ring where the oil filter mates to the surface or comes into contact with that surface, because if there is, and you put a new oil filter on there with a new rubber ring, you'll have a massive oil leak. It's not fun to clean up. And yeah. All right, let's go get our new stuff. All right, so next thing you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to put some new motor oil around the gasket of your new oil filter. On this one, we're using the K&N Performance oil filter because I couldn't find the oil filter that I needed for this make and model from Mobil 1. So it ended up costing a little bit extra because I couldn't get that AutoZone deal for the oil filter and the the oil for super cheap. So all in all, it ended up costing me around $64. So yeah, you're gonna want to make sure, guys, you don't drop any of this material in here. That'd be bad. So then you have to worry about it going into your engine, and your engine would not be happy with this stuff in it. Let me tell you. Not be happy at all. Alright, so gloved finger or your normal finger, whichever. You just want to get it in the oil. And then once it's in the oil, you want to... You want to put it around this gasket, right around here. And you know, you can pre-fill it if you want to. I personally don't pre-fill because it doesn't really extremely matter. People think you should pre-fill because your engine will run dry a little bit if there's not any oil in this oil filter, but that's not true. You're putting oil in the oil pan. All the filter does is filter, guys. It doesn't actually like pump oil or anything, you know? But you can if you want to. It doesn't hurt. And after you do that, you're good to install your oil filter. So you just did all those steps as previously mentioned correctly. Then you will now be able to remove this oil filter pan. Put your new oil filter on. Should just thread right in there by hand. And you want to really get it in there by hand. Yeah, because your hands ain't that strong. And then that should be good. As long as you really can't turn it anymore by hand, then it should be fine. And you also make sure that that rubber surface is meeting the metal surface. All right, so then you can start putting your oil in your car. So next up, guys, we got a situation here. So I don't have a funnel with me, and you know, I really need to just keep a funnel in my car for if I ever need to top up on any fluids or anything. But you can do this without a funnel. You don't need one, but it's highly recommended that you do have one. However, you don't need it. You just gotta have a steady hand and a lot of patience. So, since I don't have a funnel, I'll just be pouring it directly into this hole right here. Just by hand. I can set the camera up. Okay. I don't know. I want you guys to be able to see it. Let's see how we do this. There we go. No, still can. Still can't see. Okay. Here we go. This is our attempt at trying to freehand this. Made about 4.5 quarts in here. Oh God. Actually, hold on just a minute. I think I have an idea. Alright guys, not to worry, I found a funnel and I washed it out with some water and dried it out with a paper towel. Not the most ideal thing in the world, but sometimes you just gotta make do. The water content in here wouldn't be any more than equivalent to any more than a couple drops of rain. So truly it'll be fine. All right, there we go. So then, we'll pull out our dipstick. And we'll wipe it down. Put it back in there. Check it again. Now this guy has an oil leak up in his valve cover gasket, so that's why I ended up putting the full 5 quarts in. Because I don't want him to run low on oil again. And yeah, when I pulled out this dipstick, it was very low on oil. So maybe we could lower it a bit more. I'm not sure. I'm gonna let it run for a bit and we'll see what we gotta do. It looked a little bit high. So let's figure it out. All right, so I remembered that we're actually parked pretty downhill, guys. I mean, yeah, so of course, whenever we're looking at the oil, it's gonna look a little bit more full on one side than the other, or a little bit more fuller than it should be. So, get our oil. You gotta wipe it off after it's first been started because the oil has been splashing around everywhere, and you know. I'm not gonna lie, guys, this vehicle's got 289,000 miles on it. Heard a bit of a knock. A little knocking from the inside. If you know what that means, comment down below. So yeah, I mean, looks like it's just a little bit high. You can see it on, it's like right on the edge of that X. Which, you know, we're parked downhill, so it's gonna look a little bit fuller. And yes, I did pour an extra like 0.5 liters in there. I think it's liters, not gallon, not quarts. Maybe it is quarts. Extra 0.5, half a quart in there. Yeah. We use quarts around here. So yeah, oil change successful. And after that, you just lower the car down. By the way, guys, if you don't know how to lift up a car, you can lift from this place called the pinch point. It'll be all steel. As long as it's all steel, you can pretty much lift on it. But yeah. Shut her down. Got her? Yes, we use Pittsburgh around here. I don't got the damn money for some fucking Snap-on shit. It'll all work just fine. You don't need fancy tools to get started, guys. There are a couple brands I will tell you guys to steer clear from. Unless you're absolutely confident in a tool off Amazon, don't buy a tool off Amazon. I'll tell you that right now. Unless you are absolutely confident in a tool that you get from Amazon, do not buy a tool from Amazon. It will not work out well. That tool might be useless to you as soon as you try to use it. wasted probably $60 or something like that you did not need to waste. So yeah, that's one thing. And number two is steer clear of Hyper Tough as well. I've had nothing but bad experience with Hyper Tough stuff. And use Mobil 1. Forgot to show you guys the oil I use. This is it. Mobil 1 extended performance, high mileage. That's what it looks like. And you can always check if it's 5W20, 5W30, 15W50, whatever, dude. It'll always be on that little cap right there. Always, always, always. As always, guys, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I post gaming videos. I'm gonna start trying to post more of these videos. I'm gonna call this Gage's Garage. Yeah, if you liked it, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what I could have done better. Tell me what I could have done worse. What you liked. If you liked the video, like it. If you didn't like the video, dislike it. Yeah. See you guys in the next one.